We are appreciative to have all of you with us, and especially appreciative of all of our speakers and our sponsors and our event staff for all the hard work and going with the flow with this challenge we're all going through. While we are disappointed that we can't offer the networking opportunity that many have come to expect at Corridor Business Journal events, we are excited to share our speakers' ideas with a much larger audience. Like so many small businesses, our business at Corridor Business Journal has been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. If you found value in this webinar and would like to support the Corridor Business Journal, really the best way is to become a subscriber, either with our print or our digital version. And after you leave the webinar today, you'll be redirected to our website. There's also an option to make a one-time financial contribution. As you probably know, we typically would charge money for all attendees of this event, but have provided it for free as some businesses and individuals are experiencing some severe economic hardship. So if you can make a contribution, that would be very helpful. We are recording live from the Olympic Southside Theater in Cedar Rapids' New Bow District. This beautiful refurbished facility is a great venue. The only people in the venue this morning with us, however, are absolutely necessary to the production of this event. We are taking several precautions to keep our speakers and staff safe. As you can see behind me, the speakers' chairs are at least 6 feet apart, and everyone is wearing a mask. Speakers will be taking their masks off during their presentations, and everyone will have their own microphone, and all mics were disinfected prior to the show. We're fortunate to have Suresh Gunasekaran, the CEO of the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, with us this morning as one of our speakers. And you can rest assured, if we were not taking all the necessary precautions, I'm sure he'd be the first to let us know about that. And since I mentioned Suresh, I did want us to all give Suresh and all of our frontline workers who have been so helpful in getting us through this pandemic a big round of applause. So help me give Suresh and all the frontline. So here's how it's going to work this morning. Each of our 9 presenters will have 5 minutes to share their 10 best ideas or a few of their 10 best ideas. They can use this time to discuss all 10 ideas or highlight a few of them. As you can imagine, 90 ideas is a lot to squeeze into 90 minutes, which is why we asked each speaker to give us their 10 ideas prior to today's event. We then compiled all of these ideas into one supplement. You should have received a copy in your inbox along with a reminder to tune in this morning. If you did not receive that email, please check your spam filters or look for the email from cbjevents@corridorbusiness.com. As you are flipping through your supplement, you might be thinking about some specific questions for our speakers. After all the speakers have presented, we will open up the floor for questions if we have time. If you do have a question, please type it in the chat or Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get through as many of those as possible before we conclude. I would now like to thank our sponsors. Without their support, we would not be able to host this event. This event is presented by Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust with support from Pearson, Tallgrass Business Resources, and UFG Insurance. Pearson's mission is to help people make progress in their lives through learning. They work at every point of the learning journey, from preschool to the workplace, cultivating a love of learning and helping learners gain the skills they need. As the world's learning company, Pearson believes that wherever learning flourishes, so do people. And now entering its 100th year, Tallgrass Business Resources is no longer eligible for the CBJ's Best of the Corridor Award for office furnishings, having won in each of the first 10 years, beginning with the award's inception. Tallgrass is the Corridor's only authorized steelcase dealer, specializing in office furnishings, interior design, break room and janitorial supplies, imprinted promotional items, and now PPE products. And UFG Insurance is a publicly traded multi-billion-dollar company with more than 70 years of knowledge and experience providing commercial, including surety bonds and personal insurance for individuals, families, homes, and businesses. UFG sells through more than 1,000 independent agencies in 46 states, plus the District of Columbia. Thank you so much for your sponsorship, and please help me give all of those organizations a quick round of applause. Okay, at this time, we're fortunate to have James Klein, the president of Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust, with us today. He's going to come up on stage and say a few words. Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust is the premier local lender of financial services to businesses and individuals for whom relationships matter. With a variety of services, flexibility, and an entrepreneurial spirit, CRBT offers a sophisticated suite of big bank capabilities delivered with small bank service. It's that winning combination and a commitment to our community that makes CRBT the people you can bank on. Please help me welcome James Klein up to the podium.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome from Cedar Rapids to all those in Eastern Iowa joining us for today's event. Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust is super proud to be part of this event and has been for all 5 years. My name is James Klein, as John said, president of Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust, and we've been attached to this event for some time and continue to, because after all, it was an idea that started Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust back in 2001. Our CEO, Larry Helling, decided and had an idea that a locally owned and operated community bank was needed in our area, and therefore he started the bank from zero in 2001. We're now proud to be over $1.6 billion and have 175 employees in the area. So as I was talking to some of our presenters today, I'm excited about what you're going to hear today. During this time of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to take place, some of these simple ideas I think will really help you in your business and your personal life going forward, staking a claim, and maybe even leveraging what's taking place to help your business grow and prosper in the future. With that, I want to thank the CBJ for allowing us to be a sponsor once again. Thank you to all the CRBT staff for all that you've done during this challenging time. I certainly appreciate it, and I'm proud of our staff. And with that, back to you, John, for the event. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, James. Thanks again to James Klein and the Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust for their sponsorship for this event today and over all these years. Okay, we are going to get started. We will go in alphabetical order. I encourage you to follow along in your attendee supplement and take notes. You have everyone's bio in the supplement, so I'm going to forego an extensive introduction of each speaker. We are going to start this morning with Tony Bedard, the CEO of Frontier Co-op. Please help me welcome Tony Bedard up to the podium.
Thanks, John. And thanks for the opportunity to share a few thoughts I have on leading and managing a company. For me, it starts with integrity. Integrity is the basis of all relationships, whether it's with your employees, your customers, or your business partners. Good relationships require integrity to maintain themselves. Without integrity, nothing else matters. What you accomplish is important. How you accomplish it is more important. Second, be transparent. Open and honest communication builds trust, especially with your employees. Employees deserve to know what's going on in the company that they've committed and dedicated their time and talent to. They will be more engaged and better prepared to handle change. The idea of transparency goes far beyond employees. Good business partnerships thrive on transparency. Doing good works. As a business leader, you can do some remarkably good things in the areas of social responsibility and sustainability, and they will make your company more profitable. We build our business on this premise by building the communities and the businesses of our farming partners around the world with better quality, and we get better quality at a fair price, even at a time when supply is tight. We also market this against our competitors by recruiting through our local partners that we support at the Willis City Shelter and the Catherine McCauley Center, and providing transportation so that they can access employment. We were able to hire dozens of hardworking, dedicated employees. Doing good does work. If you haven't already, each of you as business leaders should think about how you can use your business as a force for change. It will come back to you in more sales and higher profits if you make it a business initiative and not a charitable act. Know your company's why. As a business, we know what we do, we know how to do it, but we really know why we're doing what we do. As I was driving to work one day, I was thinking about what is it that brought me to Frontier? What is it that gets me up in the morning and what keeps me there for more than almost 30 years? And it dawned on me that we do some really good things and that it makes our business more successful. Our why is doing good. The more we do as a business, the better good we can do. Companies that know that their why are more successful. Think infinite versus finite. There's no finish line when making decisions for your company. Based on assumptions, you're operating your business in perpetuity. Once you start down the path of short-term thinking, it's really hard to change direction and it narrows your options. 6, manage the individual. There's an amazing amount of talent wrapped up inside the individuals that are different than you. Out of necessity, we found ourselves tapping into completely different talent pools and made up of people from all walks of life to keep up with our growth. When we finally got our heads above water, we realized we had a very diverse workforce that brought new and innovative perspectives. 7, second chances pay off. It doesn't matter where someone's been, it matters where they are now and where they're going. I spent a day in prison, visiting a prison in Omaha. That day changed my perspective on how much talent is locked up behind bars. We've hired roughly 25 people that have spent time in incarceration, and they brought amazing talent to our organization. Seek out differing opinions. Build an inclusive company that listens to its people and begs to challenge them to get better. I believe that seeking out feedback, you'll not only hear the good things, but you hear the bad, and that you'll be a better manager, a better leader, and a better company. Show you care. People want to work for a company that cares for them, cares about them, and provides meaningful work. Employees at all levels of the company want to know how their work contributes to overall success, and they want to be validated for the key role they play in that success. And finally, you're not special. Every job in your company is equally important. It's the individual performers that are special. I grew up in a family of 16 kids, and my mother taught me from a very early age that you treat the janitor and the cafeteria lady the same as you treat the teacher and the principal. We need to recognize that without every single person doing their job, we cannot win. Just because you may be a top manager in the company doesn't make you special. Special people at all levels of your organization, and without them, it's hard to get through the tough times. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few of my thoughts, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of the panel. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tony. Moving right along, our next speaker is Tara Kronbaum, the president and owner of the Java House, and the person I like to call the coffee queen of the corridor. We're going to have Tara come on up. Let's give Tara a big round of applause.
Thank you, John, for the invite and having me today. 10 things. This was a rather difficult thing because I think I have a lot of them. The first and foremost, practice that self-care and intimacy to be successful both personally, financially, and professionally. It requires us to be careful with ourselves. It means taking care of ourselves by feeding our body with life-affirming food, language, movement, rather than abusing it with shame, holding ourselves to impossible standards, and weighing ourselves down with toxic and negative energy. When we learn how to have intimacy with ourselves, we are much, much braver, much more confident. And when it comes to creating intimacy with others, I would encourage you to work on that both personally and professionally. 2, I feel like you spoke my words. Our words are most certainly an extension of who we are: integrity. Integrity has a lot of different definitions. However, we live by our own standards of integrity. A strongly held sense of commitment to openness, honesty, inclusiveness, high standards in undertaking the leadership role. You will find that your lifelong partners, your friends, your employers will often share your personal integrity values. And guess what? When they do not, and they are not in line with yours, you will know almost immediately. With that being said, I would encourage you to put some of your values on paper. We set standards for our children based on our own integrity standards, teaching them to confront their failures rather than to hide behind their failures or let somebody else take the fall. 3, do not put all your eggs in one basket. We personally do this professionally, financially, diversify your life decisions. My son played baseball for 10 years, failed to make the high school team. While devastated at the time, he went on to lettering golf, wrestling in the 10th grade, both sports he had never played at the largest high school in Iowa. Professional contracts should be strongly reviewed and considered as to not ruin your company existence should a contract not renew. Make your source of income and revenue, make sure it's diversified, just in case. I remember when I was 27 years old, I was so excited, yet so naive, when this great company came around called McLeod, and I took my first set of earnings and invested $100,000. Needless to say, lost it all. Or I stumble, but I often stand more than I fall. Failure is an opportunity to pick yourself up and rise to the challenge. Your life experiences are only as valuable as your ability to turn them into a life lesson. We spend way too much time focusing on our missteps. Falling down is just a temporary setback. Failure is an opportunity to look at that misstep, evaluate the act, and seek a solution. Learn from the misstep and seek that next opportunity. My most personal quote is most certainly, whatever does not kill us will definitely make us stronger. 5, stop making decisions after 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. We make 35,000 decisions a day. Some of us in the executive arena make many, many more. We actually make 226 decisions on food alone in one single day, according to Cornell University, that is. Give yourself some time to, quote unquote, shut your brain off and stop making decisions. I'm super famous among my family and friends for not making decisions after 5 o'clock on Friday. Needless to say, when it's where are we going to dinner, I get a text at 4:59 on Friday night. 6, we're more okay than you actually think. Our wisdom does not just come from what we learn, but what we unlearn. Our behaviors are often born and observed in our personality through our life experiences. When we were young, a parent was a screamer. Empower yourself to unlearn that healthy behavior. Practice one single behavior that you would change about yourself. Maybe 2, one professionally and maybe one personally. 7, find gratitude in your life story. We are all grateful for where we are, and we need to respect the road that got us there. My dad, was my dying uncle. He actually passed away to COVID last week. But you know what? They were there. Family, friends, mentors, my Java House guests. It made me from a small-time college kid with a lot of debt and a big idea. I'm proud of that, but I know in order for me to have done this, I must feed that gratitude, that love, that kindness to continue on. Gratitude is a celebration of who we are, and I invite you to surround yourself. 8, think your tough decisions through. A leader's decisions interact with other choices and their actions. I've had to learn the hard way by making impulsive decisions. Avoid being impulsive. Simply say, thank you for your suggestion or offer. Can I get back to you? Remind yourself to leverage your opinions first. Make sure you are compliant with your decision. Going with the most pleasing or popular option is not always the correct one. Have the ability to delegate. Sometimes delegating is the best solution. Ask yourself, do you have an obligation to make the decision or can I delegate? Finally, give yourself a clear, fair deadline. Balance your decision making, weigh the opportunities you seek, the potential negative impact before rendering a decision. And do not forget to prioritize. We are overwhelmed. Make sure you put the most energy into the greatest decision with the most impact. Connect with those that can teach you more. One other one that's an often very, very common thing that we do in business. Seek guidance from people that know more than you. That is the number one thing that took me to where I am. Connection knows that everything we accomplish in life is much more fulfilling when we help others and we learn to accept help from others. Collaboration. We can excel on your company, your vision, your family units, or your partner's confidence in each other. Accept vulnerability as a healthy character. Find someone who is your rock, and better yet, reciprocate and make someone else your rock for them. Learn to ignore ego. Lastly, probably the number one thing that I look at every single day because I face it every single day. Accept your fear as a challenge to grow yourself stronger. Lean into the tough stuff. It will make you stronger. The ability to grow is not always comfortable. And as a matter of fact, you have to become uncomfortable in order to grow. If only it were called growing pleasures instead of growing pains. In order to break through your fear, you will most likely experience a breakdown along the way. Train yourself to live uncomfortably while simultaneously moving yourself closer to becoming stronger. Thank you for having us. This has been a great opportunity.
Well, thank you so much, Tara. Tara and I actually, we know each other probably the longest of anybody here. Tara and I were college communication studies major. You can believe it. So anyway, we were in communication studies and both have made it a little bit in the business. So thank you so much, Tara. I would now like to welcome Suresh Gunasekaran, the CEO of the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, to be our next presenter. Please help me welcome Suresh up to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here with you. I remember my college days about as well as John Lohman does. I would like to thank the Porter Business Journal for allowing me to participate in this event. I also want to thank all the many leaders on this stage with me and the organizations they represent for all the support that the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics received over the last several months. When I was looking at these 10 ideas, it seems like a lot's happened since I wrote them. And so probably this morning's presentation is going to be less about the ideas and what's happened over the last couple of months. I think we'll hit some of the ideas. So this story begins, I'm at St. Birch's Tavern in Iowa City, and it's January, and I'm with my family, and I get a phone call at dinner, and it's from the hospital. In the hospital, I have the chief medical officer on the phone, and she's asking me, we have 4 staff that are returning back from China, and there is this disease that's going on. How do we feel about letting these staff come back on site? And the CDC guidelines are not clear. And I said, well, what does the data say? And she said, the data says that what you're supposed to do is quarantine the staff. And I said, what does the policy say? And she said, we need to make the staff take leave. And our story begins with us quarantining some staff and making sure that they were at full pay. Interestingly enough, the story doesn't pick back up until March. And in March, we begin to hear about the first coronavirus cases of community members actually testing positive. And we suddenly get very scared. Because we don't know what we're staring at. What we do know is what we're watching on TV, which is that it can get very, very overwhelming very, very quickly. And so within the hospital, the first thing we do is we stand up a command center. And we start by the first principle, which is don't get the flu. First thing you do is make sure you follow the data, you follow the science, and you make sure that you keep your people safe. Then we start attacking the problem. When we look at this looks really, really scary. If this means that this is a really contagious disease, that means all the staff are vulnerable. It could mean that all the patients are vulnerable. When we started thinking through all the possibilities, we started fearing that we might have to shut down the vast majority of the hospital or the vast majority of our services. At that time, what became readily apparent is that we had a greater obligation to stay open and take care of people in a new and safe way than shutting down. And so I started looking across my leadership team to see who could step up to help me. And what I realized in this moment is that we're really blessed to have a lot of great leaders, and a lot of those great leaders are women. And what I was able to see during this period of time is a great many leadership, but it was the opportunity to actually engage every aspect of our team in that leadership that was important. When you start making decisions, you have to figure out what's your North Star. And one of my ideas that I put down was love your community. And even though I've only been in this Iowa community for 2 years, it was very easy to remember why we were here. That we were here to serve the community, and we love the community because not only were we a part of it, but we knew the people. We knew our neighbors, we knew who we worked with, and we knew why we were doing this. So it became very clear what we needed to do with every single decision. The next idea I put down was minimize the effects of bias. During those very early days, the data was very, very unclear. And so a lot of the folks in the room had very extreme ideas about how we could do things or could not do things. And what we tried to do was bring together lots of different people with different ideas that could really figure out how we could solve the problem, which is how do you stay open? How do you make sure that you take care of coronavirus patients? And how do you make sure you take care of everybody else and everyone stays safe at the same time? Quick thing we figured out was maybe everything we did at the university isn't the best thing. Be humbled by the magic of others. We looked around to other healthcare systems, and quite honestly, they did certain things better than us. You know, going to clinic is great for watching a football game, but it's not always great if that's the only place that you can receive your healthcare. And we started thinking about how we could make other sites of care much more convenient, so that patients didn't all have to come to the same place for this. And ultimately, what this led to is us starting our own coronavirus clinic in a dedicated space, so that there was one place that was specially prepared just for coronavirus patients. And then we decided maybe what we need to start doing is offering coronavirus care over telemedicine. And so every coronavirus patient became, had the opportunity to do this over the internet. And then throughout this entire process, what I kept realizing is that I do no real work. Most CEOs do no real work, and I certainly don't see patients, I don't room them, I don't even clean a room. And so what was really important was to understand that it takes a village to really get the work done. And the greatest obligation a CEO could really have is to hopefully make the work a little bit easier, and to make sure that everyone understood that whatever happens, they're going to be taken care of. It's okay to chase excellence was one of my ideas. And really, honestly, so many healthcare systems started treating coronavirus patients by looking at Google and sometimes watching the media. We were blessed at the University of Iowa to have great medical experts who had studied diseases such as this and had even worked on coronavirus treatments. And so for us, it wasn't about doing the minimum necessary, it was about doing the maximum necessary. How could we offer clinical trials with remdesivir and other drugs? And we started doing this well before the media picked up on it, or offering plasma therapy from healing patients so that they could help sick patients fight off these things. And sometimes, even though that may not be the cheapest thing to do, even though it may not be the easiest thing to do, I really think you've got to chase excellence. And I'm proud that we were part of a team that continues to do that. And when the world deals you a pretty difficult hand, I still think that you got to play the game boldly. Sometimes you're wrong. I always say that at UI Healthcare, you can be sure of one thing: no one makes more mistakes than I do, and no one is more wrong than I am. And when we walked through this journey, there were so many different things that I did wrong. You know, we really were trying to figure out how to manage the patient flow into the building, how to restrict visitors, how to make sure our staff were screened, and many times I didn't get it right. There were too many times we shut down too many entrances, or we slowed down the process too much to screen everybody just to be safe. It took us a while to figure out what's the right way to do it, what's the right visitor policy, what's the right way to not inconvenience our staff as they were coming in. I did it with good intentions. We wanted to keep everyone safe, but by the same token, I made a lot of mistakes. And I think that when you make mistakes, you need to own them, and you need to explain to folks where you were coming from, why you made that mistake, and why hopefully you'll make less mistakes as you move forward. And sometimes it might take an outsider to do an insider's job. That's a line I've used a long time in my career, which is that the best change within an organization, the best change within a community comes from within. It comes from the people inside believing that something new and different is possible and that they can contribute to making that happen. But sometimes it takes an outsider to look at it, you know? You can be in a room full of doctors. They can be the greatest experts on how to treat coronavirus, but sometimes it takes the patient's perspective or the community's perspective on how to best deliver it. And those are the kinds of ideas that led us to believe that what we really need to do is help coronavirus patients stay at home and get better than always having to come into a healthcare institution. Some of those best ideas came from our own patients telling us, hey, if we could better manage our fluids, if we could better manage our blood pressure at home and didn't have to come in to always get it checked, I really think that we could keep everyone safe. And that's true. And then the final piece that I'll leave you with is that when we first stared at this coronavirus pandemic, many ways we looked at it, we stared at this mountain that was really, really tall. Thought there is no way that we're ever going to be able to scale this. There's no way that we're ever going to be able to take care of coronavirus patients and all other patients at the same time. Today, we only have 8 to 10 patients in-house that have coronavirus. The vast majority of care we're delivering is for non-coronavirus patients. But what we've been able to do is figure out a new normal where we can deliver the vast majority of care that all islands need while still taking care of the unique needs of coronavirus patients. When I look across the community and I see so many businesses challenged by this new normal, I remember that if we're going to make it through this, it begins with the understanding that we can do it, we can change the world, and even when the world has changed before us, we can continue to make it better. And so with that, I really appreciate all of your time today, and I look forward to hearing the ideas from all the other panelists. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Suresh. Our next speaker today is the former NFL player and Director of Business Development at Build to Suit, Nate Kading. Please help me welcome Nate Kading up to the podium.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for having me. My 10 ideas were really reflections on something I became intimately aware of and accustomed to as a professional athlete, especially as a field goal kicker, which is pressure. So my 10 ideas are about managing pressure. I'm gonna put all these 10 ideas together pre-COVID, and I think everyone on the stage, business leaders and Suresh, the CEO of the hospital, and everyone watching at home has become a little bit more accustomed themselves to pressure over the last 2 or 3 months. I define pressure as that uncomfortable feeling we all get when we know the stakes are high. And the stakes are really high right now for all of us in business, especially whether we're like Suresh and we're keeping people safe and healthy, or we're worried about the livelihoods of ourselves or the employees that we have at our companies. The stakes are certainly high right now, as is the pressure. Before I dive into my points, I want to take you to Kinnick Stadium real quick and let you know kind of the pressure that I went through as an Iowa Hawkeye football player. Picture yourself sitting on the sideline, that tight little sideline at Kinnick Stadium. It's October, Saturday night, it's about 10:15 p.m. It's a primetime game. It's about 41 degrees. The wind's blowing a little bit out of the northeast. You get that nice autumn smell that's in the air. It's football. The stadium's packed. The game's coming down to the end. The Hawkeyes are down by 2. And all of a sudden, that camera, that spider-looking camera that they pull across the top of Kinnick Stadium is coming down. And all of a sudden, you're this skinny little kicker sitting at that net. And all of a sudden, that camera's boom right there in front of your face. And the team's driving the ball down the field. And you know in your heart that it's going to come down to you. And you have to be the one to execute in that moment. Being someone that's gone through that, I know in my head, immediately you start thinking about all these crazy things. That's just the way the human mind is wired. When you get that fight or flight sort of sensations going through your mind, you start thinking about all the consequences, all of the results that might come from that kick, whether you make it or you miss it. You start thinking about as a college kid, hey, if I make this kick, you know, everybody's going to love me. I'm going to be on the cover of the Des Moines Register. I'm going to be on SportsCenter tonight. I'm going to have a couple of cold pictures of Coors Light waiting for me down in the sports column. It's, you know, everything's going to be great. But then your mind naturally also goes to the negative consequences. If I miss this, how am I going to look my teammates in the eye after the game? I'm also going to be on the cover of the Des Moines Register, but for a whole different thing. Sports talk radio is going to be killing me. I'm going to have to sit in the corner of class. You know, my dorm roommates probably not even going to want to be in the same dorm as me. Your mind starts racing towards those things. You start thinking of your mom and dad in the stands and how they're going to have to, you know, take the jersey off that they might be wearing that has your number on it as they walk out of the stadium. That's what your mind's doing as your team driving down the field, and you know it might come down to you. That's pressure. And how do you handle that pressure? I think first and foremost, you think back to all the hours, the tens of thousands of hours that you put in to get to that moment. That preparation is really like your armor against those moments. And all of us in business, we have that preparation as well, whether it's going through school, or it's management classes, or professional development, or just the years and years of working in your industry or other industries that you bring to those moments. That's really your armor in those sort of situations. Now also, really the most important thing is in those moments is to think about the process, not the result. So as I walk out there onto the field to kick a field goal, I had to have the kind of mental fortitude to push out all those result-oriented thoughts and to start thinking about the process. And for me, it was getting out onto the field, finding the spot where I wanted to execute the kick from, looking at the grass, gauging the wind, finding my point I was going to kick to, taking a couple deep breaths. Those things I had to focus my mind on. Those are the really important things, and you forget about the consequences. So it's really all about process-oriented thinking. There's a great book that I love that I share with a lot of people that I work with in professional sports and then even in business, which is called Zen and the Art of Archery. It's about a philosopher from Germany named Eugene Herrigel who went and studied Zen in Japan through a master archer. And he talks all about the aimless aim, the artless art. Really what that means is instead of thinking about when you're pulling the bow and arrow back and you're not thinking about hitting the target, you're thinking about all the little minute things that you have to do with that bow and arrow in your hand and you're breathing, then all of a sudden the arrow just releases and it hits the target. I think the same is certainly the same for business and handling pressure. All these different things swirling around, all these consequences, these things happening. If you go back to your systems, your processes, and those things, that's a great way to deal with that sort of pressure. I think the other thing is that I learned through my professional football career and got better at. It's really important to be aware of your thoughts and to accept the fact that as human beings we're going to have crazy, weird, scary thoughts floating through your head that are caused by anxiety, that are caused by pressure. And that's normal and that's natural. Just be aware of those thoughts and accept them. And of course, there's the power of the deep breath. Just being able to take one deep breath. If you watch closely, a lot of kickers, NFL kickers, and you watch it, a guy artist to stroke a big putt or hit a big tennis shot, a serve. They're always taking that one big inhale and then exhale. That's critically important. I don't think any of us take enough time throughout the course of the day just to take a few deep breaths. And one thing I really got in the habit of is taking 5 minutes out of my day in the morning, 5-10 minutes, and practicing your breathing, slowing down, slowing your mind down. It's really important to be able to handle all the different anxiety and pressure that's out there in the world. And then, of course, it's kind of the great thing about taking, some other folks have talked about it, getting outside of your comfort zone and taking risks. You're going to fail every now and then. And one of the great quotes that Marty Schottenheimer, my first coach in the NFL, always says is that criticism is a lot like walking in the rain. Once you get wet, what's another drop, right? I mean, once you get used to it, it doesn't really matter. It kind of flows right off you, and you can just keep walking through it. So, as doers, like we all are in the business community, I think that's critically important to understand is that, with pressure, you're putting yourself out there at times, and you're going to fail. But the important thing is just to get right back up. And of course, there's that famous Teddy Roosevelt quote where he talks about, you'd rather be the one out there doing it than the one, sitting in the 50th row, talking about how that one kicker shanked that kick. So it's better to be a doer, and pressure is just kind of that natural byproduct of being someone that's out there doing it. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Nate. Next, we are going to hear from Mary Kemp, who is the Vice President of Finance, Global Technology, and Business Services at Pearson. Please help me welcome Mary up to the podium.
Thanks, John. Weird times to be giving a speech to an empty theater with extra accessories. When I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, the biggest challenge was making sure to put up with something worth saying, something that was memorable, authentic, hopefully a little bit funny. This leadership tip or idea, or life idea for that matter, isn't earth-shattering. It's nothing that's hard, but it is often something that we forget to think about as we go through our checklist and we're so busy, we're making more widgets and earning more profit. It's not about the best way to document an employee performance review or how to calculate statistically correct revenue projection. We can say that for another day. It's about connecting people and ideas and feelings. Motivating by example, giving attention and true empathy, and showing your true self, and by doing that, inviting others to do the same. So a few years ago, Pearson had our annual Finance Leaders Forum in Belfast, and I was asked to tell a story about some stuff my team had gone through a year prior. Now, speaking wasn't the issue. My friends and family can attest I have no problem with that, but this one made me nervous. It was a bit raw. There was roughly about 50 people, 50 of the top finance leaders from all over the globe that were there. We were talking all things from strategic planning and digital transformation, debits and credits. Just kidding, we don't nerd out that badly. And it was my turn to stand up and tell my story. And I cried. Yep, pretty junior kid in the room, and I stood there and I was crying, and they were recording it. So I told a story about my team and how it had been the most terrible, awful, no good, very bad year. Mother of four on my team lost her husband suddenly one morning when he just didn't wake up. Try not to cry again. Same time, another team member was spending countless hours working from the hospital as she was juggling forecasting meetings with doctors' discussions, and her brother was battling cancer. He unfortunately lost that battle, and unexpectedly, a few weeks later, her mother also passed away. Another teammate had just come back from battling and beating breast cancer. We were a hot mess. Forget about tracking time off, our status on our performance goals and how we were doing. We were just surviving. But in a situation like that, you can really see how a team can also thrive. Trust me when I say I had no idea what I was doing as a leader, but when you're in that kind of survival mode, you just got to step back and trust your gut. The lesson in that situation wasn't about
the tactical things like how did we schedule meetings, how did I make sure work was getting done and on a deadline. It was actually about doing the opposite and stepping back from managing the work and just supporting the team. Instead, taking the time to listen, and of course, there was extra hours digging into the work to cover for other folks. The unexpected consequence of stepping back to support instead of actually directly managing the work was that the team followed that lead and they did the same. They helped cover each other's tasks and meetings when somebody may have had a doctor's appointment or just couldn't make it in that day. They took up collections for gift cards. They organized meal trains. There was balloons and fruit baskets. There's a really strong sense of unity across the team. We knew we had each other's backs. We knew if we were in the same situation, we'd want to be shown the same grace and support. Almost made it through that time. I don't wish those situations on anybody. And although it was a huge learning experience, I'm really thankful it's been a much quieter few years since my what I hope you carry away from that story is the reminder to really support the people in your teams and in your life. Not as cogs in the machine or task lists to get checked off, but really as people. Take the time to build trust across your team by connecting on a personal level. Relationships really matter, not because it's a ticket up the ladder, but because it brings a sense of purpose and there's emotion in what you do every day when you spend so much time in the office or now at home and potentially away from our family. Don't tell my boss, hopefully she's not watching, but I'm not on this earth to run financial models. I am here to inspire, to connect, to explore and feel and motivate and protect, whether it's my children, my family and friends, or my coworkers. I challenge all of you to think about how you show up for your people, for yourself, and truly support and connect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Before we go to our next speaker, I did want to mention all of our speakers are sitting on some cool chairs. And these chairs are provided by our sponsor, Tallgrass. And it's kind of a fun thing that we've been doing for the last 5 years is having them bring kind of unique chairs and having everybody sit on those. And so we're fortunate to have those chairs provided to us today by good folks at Tallgrass. Our next speaker is CJ Clean. CJ is a doctor of chiropractic at the Back in Line Chiropractic and Wellness. Please help me welcome CJ.
Thank you. Rules are more like guidelines, meant to be broken, said the famous Captain Barbosa in the movie The Pirates of the Caribbean. My 5-year-old knows this sentiment well. Recently, we had some fun with water balloons in our front yard. He tormented his sister and the babysitter for a good 30 minutes before it was time to come in. He was given at least 56 warnings. Cooper Clean, drop the water balloon, it's time to come in. I'm sure you can imagine the sparkle in his eye. Cooper Clean, you throw that water balloon and you will spend 5 minutes in timeout in your room alone. In a split second, his decision had been made and he handed it to me on a silver platter. As he chucked that water balloon so far across our front yard, he might as well have said, "Screw you, Mom, and your dumb rules." Splash went the water balloon. His smile was contagious, and it took every single cell of my body not to burst out with laughter. Cooper, Stephen Clean, let's go. He was happily reaching for my hand for me to walk into his room for the satisfying consequence of 5 minutes in the slammer. I asked him if it was worth it on the way to his room. Without skipping a beat, he said, "You betcha." In the summer of 2003, I was a freshman sitting at orientation at the University of Iowa. All freshmen are being told that they must sign up for 2 semesters of rhetoric. Rhetoric is the study and art of writing, speaking well, being persuasive, and knowing how to compose successful texts and presentations. If you have an English ACT score of 32 or higher, you get to enroll in what's called accelerated rhetoric, meaning you only have to take it 1 semester. I was terrified. The University of Iowa was huge, and I was unclear of myself, my future, and if I was really cut out for this thing called college. What I did know is I was not going to take 2 semesters of rhetoric. For those of you that know me, my grammar and writing will shame all of my elementary, middle, and high school teachers combined. There was not a shot in hell my ACT score was remotely close to 32. However, I managed to listen to a special passcode my super smarty pant elite peers got to use when registering for their accelerated rhetoric class. Guess what? That same code worked for me too, and I got into accelerated rhetoric. Checkmate. Now you might be thinking, this is where she blows it. This is where she signed up for a class, hit rock bottom, and destroyed her future. Wrong. While I clearly may have been the least in my class, I had one of the most profound teachers of my life. It was a hard class and I had to work my tail off. I learned more about myself, my way of thinking, and a little bit about writing. But some of history's best game changers broke the rules too. I suggest you evaluate your life and consider, are there rules that are worth breaking? However, I also encourage you to evaluate the consequences. Are you willing to spend 5 minutes in timeout? Are you willing to pay for a speeding ticket? Or are you willing to win big, learn a lot, and take chances? But let me ask you this. Are there any of you currently breaking the rules when it comes to your health? Have you thought about the long-term consequences of your daily actions or inactions around your health? What does timeout look like when it comes to breaking the rules of your health? Is it sitting in a hospital bed for unregulated cardiovascular disease after suffering a stroke or heart attack? Is it suffering complications of a hip replacement because of type 2 diabetes? Is it early onset dementia that could have been slowed with lifestyle changes in your 20s, 30s, 40s? When we look at the total economic burden of poor health, 80% of diseases and healthcare expenditures can be reversed, prevented, or avoided altogether with lifestyle modifications. I often hear the phrase, I can't afford to be healthy. That's a lie. You can't afford to be sick. It is not your doctor's responsibility to make you healthy. It's your doctor's responsibility to make you less dead if an illness or disease presents itself. While I'm all about pushing the envelope and boundaries of life, one thing I'm very passionate about, it is your health and your family's health as it relates to your family, workplace, and your entire community you connect with. Right now, your health is your greatest asset or biggest liability. What choices or rule bending, have you been up to that ultimately sending you to time out? What daily practices can you shift now? Some of these suggestions require no money at all. Increasing water intake, owning your sleep routine, shutting off electronics, eating more vegetables, reducing sugar, avoiding processed foods, moving more, adding yoga, strength training, walking, biking, swimming, prayer, fixing the finances, or even fixing a broken relationship. All of these have significant and profound effects on your overall health, your ability to work smarter, not harder, and be positively, infectiously contagious to your entire community. There's a time and place to break the rules. What rules are you willing to pay the price for? Your health, identity, integrity, and energy is all contagious. Be well, my friends. Break some of the rules, but own your health and keep yourself out time out.
Thank you so much, CJ. So we have a little change in the plan because one of our speakers, Leslie Nolte from Nolte Academy, was unable to make it this morning. And so I was asked a few years ago by somebody, said, John, why don't you do your own 10 ideas? And so I wrote up 10 ideas 3 or 4 years ago, and I tucked them away. And this morning I am breaking them out. And so I'm going to give you a few of my top 10 ideas. And so basically you're getting a bonus today. You're getting 100 ideas as opposed to just 90 ideas. And the first idea is we are all event planners. You think about it, if you're hosting poker or if you're hosting a meeting in your office or if you're hosting a wedding or whatever it may be, and something will always go wrong. Okay, whether it's a pandemic or it's rain on your wedding day, it's how you deal with those situations is going to make the event work. And us at the Quarter Business Journal, we put a lot of events on, and we plan, and something always goes wrong, but you wouldn't know it if we didn't talk about it. And we are able to roll with the punches and go with it. And so roll with the punches and be prepared for an event. Something will go wrong, but you can get through it. The second idea is treating people with respect. I believe that is the #1 trait to a good business person or a good human being. You don't have to like the person. You don't have to want to hang out with a person, but if you provide that person with a certain amount of respect, I think that is a great way for you to operate your business, and it's also a great way for your personal brand. The third item I have for you is read a newspaper. Read a newspaper every day and read the Quarter Business Journal every week. Be sure to read the articles and opinions that you don't care about or you don't think you'll agree with. I'm astounded by the number of people that I would consider influential who don't read a daily newspaper. I just don't see how it's possible. It's not good for them, it's not good for their community, and it's not good for our society in the long run. So read a newspaper. Family comes first. That's my fourth idea. It's not just a cliche at the Quarter Business Journal. If you can't do this well, I'm not sure it reflects well on you or your business or your career. I believe that my employees at the Quarter Business Journal understand that family comes first. It's the expectation that we have for everybody that they take care of their family first before the business. It's just common sense. The fifth item is learn something as an adult. I am learning to play the piano. I am not very good at the piano, but I've been taking lessons with my son and my daughter for probably 7 years. And we all started at the same level, and they are so much more advanced than I am, but I love the challenge. In our house, there's a piano in the living room, and if you look down the hallway, there's the door to my bedroom. And whenever I start playing the piano, you can almost count to 10. The door will close. And I feel really bad for my wife because I practice a lot and I'm not very good, but it's something that I really enjoy. It's a real challenge for me because I really have no musical skills whatsoever, but I actually love it. I'm going to be taking piano lessons probably for the rest of my life. So learn something as an adult. And the sixth item that I have for everybody, and I'm very serious when I say this, is run a marathon. Run an actual marathon. I have run 10 marathons in the last 10 years. I wasn't a runner beforehand, but I saw people running, and I heard about people running these marathons, and I thought, why can't I do that? I remember I was at a barbecue in my neighborhood one day, and it was like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm eating some barbecue chicken, and we're talking to some of our neighbors, and one of our neighbors, I asked them, how's your day going? And she said, well, I ran 18 miles this morning. And I was just completely astounded that she had run 18 miles that morning, and she was drinking a beer and eating barbecue, and I was just amazed. And I thought, well, that's awesome. Maybe I could do something like that. So I went on a 2-year quest to run a marathon. I started out 2 years before my 40th birthday. My goal was to run a marathon by the time I turned 40. My goal was to simply finish and beat Oprah's time. I finished in 4 hours and 55 minutes, and I have gotten my time down to actually 3 hours and 50 minutes over the years. I used the book, The Non-Runner's Guide to Running a Marathon. It's a great book. Running and seriously training helps your mind, your body, and your overall wellness. I've never looked at food the same since I started running. Before I started running a marathon, I looked at food as simply food. Now that I've been running a marathon and training, I look at food as energy. It's a different mindset. You can't cut corners on training. It will only hurt you. If you're scheduled to run 5 miles that day, you run at least 5 miles. You don't run 4.5 miles. Running a marathon and taking care of yourself sets a good example, especially if you're a leader in an organization. It shows that you take care of yourself and you can take time to exercise. And the self-talk in training that Nate is probably very familiar with really helps put life into perspective. When it's raining out, I always say I love to run in the rain. If it's windy out, I always say to myself, I love to run in the wind. If it's a hilly course that day, I say I love hills. It's just a different mindset. The other thing about it is you never say, I have to run 12 miles this morning. I say, I get an opportunity to run 12 miles today. It's a different mindset, and it's something that is really unique and something that you learn in that book and learn when you run a marathon. So give that a shot. I'll have the rest of my 10 ideas for all of the people that are registered as well. So next up is Brandon Pratt. Brandon Pratt is the owner of Lion Development Group, and we're fortunate to have him. Help me welcome Brandon Pratt up to the podium.
I know what you guys are thinking. There was a NFL professional athlete that's speaking today, and it's not me. Given my physique, but remember that the camera has 10 times. I am not a presenter. I am what some people refer to as a storyteller. So I'm going to illustrate a couple points today through a story. But I think it's important to set up a good story and give you some background. So as John mentioned, I appreciate the introduction. Humbled and honored to be here with a great group of panelists. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a real estate developer, and a restaurateur. That's what I'm going to speak about today, is the restaurant side of my ventures. To set up the story, I own Pizza Ranch restaurants. I own 7 Pizza Ranch restaurants, 4 here in the corridor area. Pizza Ranch is an awesome brand. We were pre-COVID projected to do $300 million in sales this year. Obviously, that's changed pretty drastically. But why I bring that up is because we've had 30 years of same-store sales growth, and we're one of only 5 restaurants, including the likes of McDonald's and Panera, to do over $200 million in sales and have 30 years of same-store sales growth. But we had a problem with Pizza Ranch. The problem was our top line kept growing, but our bottom line didn't follow. We were running high food costs. And for those of you that know Pizza Ranch, we're a buffet. So it's tough to run food costs, good, efficient food costs regardless. So we set out as an ownership group to put together a profitability committee. We looked at everything. We looked at the flow of the restaurants. We ended up bringing a consultant in from California. We spent probably close to $100,000 in flights, in redesign concepts, changing the layout of our building, going to a lean design, looking at every angle we possibly could. And when it was all said and done, after a lot of time, a lot of brain power, and a lot of money, at the end of the day, we still were running a pretty small margin on the bottom line. So we took a step back and we said, hey, let's take a look and let's focus on what's going on inside of our operations. And we said, there are clearly some restaurateurs, so we have 206 Pizza Ranches in 16 states, and there's a handful of people that are far surpassing the bottom line. Let's take a look at them and find out. Let's not worry about the consultants. Let's not worry about all the people we think are smarter than us. Let's look at the people inside of our brand and figure out what they're doing differently than us. So we took a step back. Our profitability committee and our team got together. We interviewed some people. And at the end of the day, it was this, a spatula. You guys have all heard the idea of the $1 million spatula. Well, my point today is twofold. One, the $1 million spatula, although specific to the restaurant industry in this example, is in every business. Everybody has that spatula. So my challenge to you is find out what your spatula is. COVID has obviously changed the way we've thought. It's changed commute. It's changed people going to work. It's changed the way people function, where they eat, how they eat, why they eat. At the end of the day, you've got spatulas. It could be any one of those. It might be outsourcing. It might be bringing more people in. It might be hiring the right talent. My challenge to you is find that spatula. This spatula, although I said the $1 million spatula, it saves 3%. So we eliminated 3% of waste through one tool, which I'll do the math for you. We're a $300 million company. It's $9 million a year. So we took that philosophy and we started looking, what other spatulas do we have in Pizza Ranch? We shopped all of our vendors. One example that's a real one, if you come to Pizza Ranch, you get a receipt. You don't get one receipt, you don't get 2 receipts, you get 3 receipts. One for you, one for us, and then one that talks about the survey. And we stepped back and we said, okay, let's watch our guests when they get those receipts. They grab them, they look at them, guess what? They throw them away. At the end of the day, now when you come to Pizza Ranch, you get asked if you'd like a receipt. That minimal change put $300,000 to the bottom line. So when we're all said and done, we drove about 5% out of our cost by just listening to our people. And that's my second point. My second point is pay attention to the people that you have. You may be the CEO. I think Suresh said it great earlier. He said that you don't have to. It doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that we don't hire people that are smarter than us. I am a firm believer that, and this will be my third point, that hard work beats talent and talent doesn't work hard. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to hire a smart person. So as I close, my fourth and final point is this: treat yourself, work hard, order the cactus bread. For those of you that don't know what cactus bread is, if you come to Peach Ranch, you're staying at Peach Ranch, it's our dessert pizza. It is spectacular. It's cinnamon, sugar, butter, strudel, frosting, right? How could that be bad? But at the end of the day, if COVID has taught us anything over these last few months, is that tomorrow isn't promised. We don't know what tomorrow brings. So my advice is get right with the big guy upstairs. Don't work 1,000 hours a week, and I'm preaching to myself as I say this. Enjoy the cactus bread, take care of your family, look within your company for talent, listen to your people, and find your $1 million cash flow. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Brandon. Last but not least, we have Steve Schreiber. Steve is the founder and CEO of EcoLips and the man behind many other successful local businesses, including this new venue, or refurbished venue that we're in today. So please help me welcome Steve Schreiber up to the podium.
Thank you, John. Thanks, CBJ, Corridor Business Journal. And the energy on this stage is amazing. I also understand why you're doing 300 million in sales, because you're the only ones, I think, that plug the product. Cactus bread. I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to cover 3 of my favorites. Number 1, don't open an event venue during a pandemic. Thank you. Stupidest thing I've ever done. But it's great to see people in here, and I really appreciate that we're in here right now. So that was, all right, let's get into it. Don't start a business, start a movement. Create a business or a brand that people can really get behind. Create a vibe around the business that attracts the type of customers you want. Ultimately, the type of community that you want to build. By creating a movement, you get beyond the status quo of competition and standard perceptions, and you connect with your customers at a much deeper emotional level. This is the sweet spot where price and competition are no longer important to the customer, and you are just there for your customers, serving them, and the community that you build together. My 3 tips on achieving this are associate, similar to what Tony said here earlier, associate a relevant cause with your business, whether it's support for our troops, environmental action, community development. Pick something that is important to you and that will resonate with your customers. Give them the opportunity to support that cause. You have to take action first and then let your customers follow. If you do it right, you will create an impenetrable halo effect around all of your products and your business activities. Number 2 on this, engagement on all levels. Meet them where they are. What I mean is find out where they're consuming media. Maybe it's the newspaper, maybe it's the CBJ, and be there for them. Whether it's earned editorial content, advertising, or networking event. Be there where your customers are. If you don't know where they are, create a special event showing appreciation for them. Number 3, give them the opportunity for new experiences. Be their guide. Whether it's a sneak peek at a new product, a new tool for your industry, or a unique meeting space, get them out of their comfort zone and guide them into uncharted territory. If you can reach the pinnacle of being a guide to your customers, they will never leave you. The ultimate success is then when your customers maintain the momentum of the movement that you created. So, number 2, communicate or deteriorate. My grandpa used to write me letters, and on the back of the letters, he had a hand stamp that said, communicate or deteriorate. It's important to remind ourselves of this important rule. We've all seen results of bad communication. Teams can break down, relationships fail, we lose a big sale, we had an email that got lost, misalignment between a board of directors and executives, company morale issues, the list goes on and on and on. Communicate or deteriorate. Remember, people are not mind readers, and we shouldn't expect them to be. 3 ways to improve communication. With your employees, make sure you have regular touch points with them. Use text, email, IM, organizational software, phone calls, face-to-face meetings, whatever you have to do to stay in touch with your people. Whether you're rapidly growing or you're failing, it is imperative that you communicate with your employees. Employees want to be in the know, and they are typically left out. For your customers, there are really no more rules in marketing, especially after this pandemic. You can post on social media once a week, once a month, 3 times a week, 3 times a day, as long as you're communicating something relevant and meaningful to your customers. They want to hear it. It's not just about this being for sale, that being on sale, whatever. You need to create relevant content for them. But rethink your entire customer communication strategy and take action for it. Also, check out your website and your marketing material. Is it still you? Or have you evolved and not made the changes? Websites can get stale, and printed marketing material can too. Take an audit of all these materials and make sure you're sharing the right information, especially right now. Don't forget to tell your story. Who you are and why you do what you do should be important to you and your customers. So tell your story. My last comment here is that the summit is only halfway there. When you reach the summit, you still have to get down safely. In mountaineering, a lot of deaths occur on the way down. And in business, a lot of accidents can happen after you hit a goal. People get tired, clumsy, run out of supplies, they get off route, etc. When you set a big strategic goal and you finally reach that goal, just be careful not to get too comfortable. Stay on your toes, stay alert, and follow through with your plan. Oftentimes, there's still a lot of work to be done related to the goal and making sure your team navigates it wisely. A new accomplishment can mean a whole new set of responsibilities that may be new terrain for you and your team. Be careful, you just might succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. I don't know if we're going to have time for questions, so I'm just going to do my conclusion now. I want to thank all of our speakers once again for sharing their ideas with us. Again, you should have all of their ideas in your packet that was emailed to all of you, and I'll give you my 10 ideas as well. I'd like to thank our sponsors once again: Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust, Tallgrass Business Resources, Pearson, and UFG Insurance. Help me give all those organizations a round of applause. I hope you enjoyed this morning's program and are leaving today with some new ideas that you can implement in both your professional and personal lives. For those of you who would like to continue your professional development in a more structured environment, I do want to mention that we are currently taking applications for the Fall 2020 CBJ Leadership Academy. This is facilitated by Ron Olenzak, the former global head of talent for Aegon, who managed their internal leadership program. This vigorous 5-session academy focuses on practical leadership, coaching, management skills. The custom curriculum includes a core values assessment, emotional intelligence, group team building, managing conflict, diversity and inclusion, and much more. Give yourself or your most promising employees the skills and introspection to grow and lead. You can find out more information on our website at quarterofbusiness.com. And I did want to mention our next event is another free live webinar on June 24th. We will host our annual mid-year economic review event. We're fortunate to have Charlie Evans, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, as our keynote speaker. And that will be followed by a panel discussion, facilitated by Jack Evans from the Hall Perrine Foundation. Panelists include Bruce Harold of the University of Iowa, Catherine Kunert from Mid-America Energy, Greg Lurkins of Amana Society, and Laura McBride of Van Meter. Again, that's one of our premier events coming up on June 24th. And again, lastly, I would encourage you to all support the Quarter Business Journal by either subscribing to the Quarter Business Journal digital or print version, or making a one-time financial contribution. Thank you again so much for being with us this morning, and keep reading the weekly Quarter Business Journal. We are adjourned.